Hey guys, very excited to invite you to ReformCon 2022 by this standard. ReformCon 2022, we have an amazing lineup of speakers. We have Dr. James White, Dr. Joe Boot, we have Toby Sumter, we have David Bahnsen. I'm speaking at the conference. It's going to be amazing. We have time where there's performances, there's going to be some entertainment, we have an after party, we have time for fellowship. So for all things ReformCon 2022, you just need to go to reformcon.org. You can go there to get your tickets. You can also go to reformcon.org to book your hotel and accommodations. Also, if you are a Christian business owner, you want to participate, you want to set up a booth, you want to be a vendor, we'd love to have you. You can do all of that at reformcon.org, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. Reformation Day weekend, ReformCon 2022 by this standard.
Non-rockabotus must stop. I don't want to rock the boat. I want to sink it.
Are you going to bark all day, little doggy, or are you going to bite?
We're being delusional. I love you, Jeff.
Delusional, yeah. Delusional is okay in your worldview. I'm an animal. You don't chastise chickens for being delusional. You don't chastise pigs for being delusional. So you calling me delusional using your worldview is perfectly okay. It doesn't really hurt. She hung up on me.
What?
Desperate times call for faithful men and not for careful men. The careful men come later and write the biographies of the faithful men, lauding them for their courage.
Go into all the world and make disciples. Not go into the world and make buddies. Not to make brosives.
Right.
Don't go into the world and make homies.
Right.
Disciples.
I got a bit of a jiggle neck. That's a joke, Pastor.
When we have the real message of truth, we cannot let somebody say they're speaking truth when they're not.
Take an amazing journey to a place that will blow your mind and move your heart so you will never be the same again.
A fool's lips walk into a fight, and his mouth invites a beating. A fool's mouth is his ruin, and his lips are a snare to his soul. The words of a whisperer are like delicious morsels. They go down into the innermost and the inner parts of the body. If one gives an answer before he hears, it is his folly and shame. That's Proverbs 18, y'all. Go check it out. Welcome back to another episode of Apologia Radio. This is the gospel heard around the world, everybody. Welcome back, welcome back. Get more at apologiastudios.com, APOLOGIA studios.com. Go there. Get all the episodes. You have Provoked, Sheologians, Cultish, Apologia Radio. So many episodes, hundreds of episodes, radio shows, podcasts, all that stuff. You can also sign up for All Access and partner with us in this ministry. Everything happening here, whether it's the evangelism, on the street evangelism, the teaching ministry of the church, really End Abortion Now stuff, all that. If you want to be a part of what we're doing, sign up for All Access, and you get all kinds of nifty gifties, extra stuff. Apologia All Access, you get the after show, the TV show, Apologia Academy, and more is coming. We just had like a 2-hour meeting with the team about a very special project coming up in we're starting to film very soon, and we think you're really going to enjoy it. We're very excited about this, and we'll announce more as we get closer, but it's going to be a special project for our All Access partners in ministry. So if you're part of what God is doing here, thank you for all of our All Access partners. You guys make everything we do possible, so thank you for that. And as we announce every week, make sure you guys sign up for Bahnsen U. It's Bahnsen U. It is free. If you want to get the best theological training, philosophy training, apologetics training, church history training, all that, literally a seminary level course training. You can get it for free from one of the greatest in the history of the church, Dr. Greg Bahnsen. The Bahnsen family entrusted us with his life's work. And so whether it was the seminary classes, seminary programs, or whether it was the church teaching stuff through books of the Bible, it is all available at Bahnsen U. More and more is coming all the time. getting uploaded all the time. And so get your free account. And thank you again to our All Access partners who make even that possible to be for free for everybody. So thank you guys so very much. I'm Jeff. They call me the Ninja. That's Luke the Bear right there.
Is that free like student loan forgiveness free?
It's a different kind of, like, we really mean that for the person, it's totally free. And everybody else who's making it possible is giving voluntarily.
Yeah.
They're giving voluntarily.
Yeah.
To participate and to bless the world.
Kind of like Christ dying on the cross.
Not coercion.
Sort of a thing.
Not coercion.
Yeah.
We're not spreading the debt around where people are saying,
Right.
I freely offer myself to make this free for you.
And I appreciate the clarification.
Yeah,
there seems to be some confusion
about
in the culture right now on
forgiveness.
What free is.
Right.
And forgiveness.
People love to say, keep religion out of politics and get your religion out of the state. But in moments like this, and moments during the last the pandemic situation, people were, but no, you gotta not go to church because you gotta love your neighbor, like Jesus says. You gotta not do this because you gotta love your neighbor. You gotta wear the face diaper. You gotta wear the face diaper because Jesus.
Very pious.
Because Jesus. Because Jesus says, and keep Christianity out of the state, except where we're going to take debt and transfer debt to generations. And make it oppressive to others, and take that debt slavery and put it on others. Then when that happens, everyone says because Jesus, because Jesus would really want you, because Jesus forgave people of their debt, which actually is true. But when Jesus forgave people of their debt, it's finished, and it was actually erased.
And he paid the ultimate sacrifice for that.
And willingly.
He
did it voluntarily.
Right.
He did
exactly.
it. Right. And not under he wasn't coerced to do it. No one takes my life from me. I lay it down of my own accord.
Bingo.
Sort of a thing. And so a quick answer to the student loan stuff. It's crazy. Debt slavery spread to my children and your children and our grandchildren via taxation is not forgiveness. It's not related to forgiveness. It is a transference of debt slavery to even more victims.
Yep.
There's the Christian response. There's something where you're looking through the Word of God to see it. That's what's going on there.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail.
No, it's good. Welcome to the show, everybody.
The Christians, and I say that loosely, that have been saying it's the same thing. Literally, I wanted to pound my head into the wall when I saw some of those tweets. Yeah. And I was just like, one, you don't understand basic economics, and two, you don't understand Christ's sacrifice for our sins.
That's right, yeah.
So anyway, sorry. Do you remember the game Battleship? Did you play that when you were a kid?
Heck yeah, Battleship.
That game was awesome.
All the time.
I used to love that game with the little ships. Now you can do it digitally. I think I've played it on some airplanes. Do you think, would you own a private battleship if you could?
Like, yeah, I guess if somebody was like, here,
they're like, hey, you
want
your own battleship?
I probably would take it.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sail the seven seas. Sail the seven seas.
Yeah.
And, I don't know.
I don't know. Just curious.
Yeah.
I definitely would.
I could see you.
I definitely.
I could see you commanding your own battleship. I could see that. Captain Luke.
Man, I hope we don't need private battleships.
You strike
in
me
our lifetime
as somebody who could appropriately be named Skipper. I feel that about you.
Why?
I don't know. It just because you're a large.
Oh, because like Gilligan Skipper?
You're a large, massive man with a big old beard.
Okay.
I can see you with like a yellow raincoat on, standing on the edge of a ship with a pipe, and it would make sense. Like if that was in a film, I'd believe it. I go, yeah, he's a skipper.
I'd want a different name though.
Yeah.
Like
different than Luke.
No, than Skipper.
Oh. You would need more like I don't know. I just feel like if you were going to do that, you need like a Swedish name. Like Johansson or something like I don't know.
Hey, so I'm working on I'm way off today, forgive me. We've been working on some sea shanties for ReformCon.
I heard one of them is phenomenal.
Yeah, and so
can I play one of them now? Actually, I have it.
Which one?
Hey, Matthew sent me it.
The new one?
I don't know if it's the new one. It's not going to hurt to play it, right?
No, that's fine. So I told him that he and Gabe Johnson are gonna, love you Gabe, shout out, they're gonna lead it, and they need to come dressed as pirates, and I gave them really cool pirate names. I told them they should come as Johnny Mac Sparrow and Free Will Turner.
Free Will Turner. That's awesome.
Anyways, did he just recently send it to you?
Yeah, Sunday after church. He
Oh,
told
yeah.
me he was
Okay,
working
so
on it,
that
yeah.
I just wrote. I wrote the lyrics and he did the. It's Psalm 111.
Do your
anyway.
do your
I'm
thing,
sorry.
and
I
it's-
apologize, Armored Republic,
Yeah,
because that was supposed to be free.
Facebook is acting real weird now. It's like loading forever.
So the point I was trying to get to is that when the United States in 1776 resisted British tyranny, they used private battleships. So that's kind of how they won the war. And hopefully we don't have to employ the same tactics to the tyranny we're now facing in the form of loan forgiveness. But private battleships are a tool of liberty. They equip men to resist tyranny. Another tool of liberty is body armor, a defensive tool so you can stay in the fight for as long as possible. At Armored Republic, we stand for arming, it's not aiming at, arming free men with body armor so they can resist tyranny for Christ the King. I love it! Christ the King. Check out our website at ar500armor.com. Sign up for our email list. Equip yourself. Join the Armored Republic today. And believe me, they constantly have deals. Constantly. Actually, they have a new hybrid plates that I need to get a hold of, because they're like as strong as the steel plates, but they're like they don't weigh nearly as much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not the ceramic. They're not.
I love those guys.
Anyways. Yeah.
Armored Republic, y'all. Solid. It's been a long day. It's been a long day already.
Words.
We've already been using
Words.
many words, and now they're escaping us. Armored Republic, amazing, godly dudes over there. Great work they're doing for the glory of God. And we have a lot to talk about today. I know, admittedly, some of you guys are watching right now. You're like, "What in the world is going on?" And we're a little lighthearted at the start here because it's about to get nasty, dirty, ugly. And the title of the program today is Abortion, Porn, Stacey Abrams, and Godly Wisdom on the Internet. So we're going to do our very best to get through these. And I want to give you all, as friends, a very serious warning. And I've got Pastor Luke next to me. I got another pastor visiting who's watching the show live right now here in the studio. And they've heard it, and I know they would agree with me by warning you, do take this very seriously. I'm going to play something, and I'm not going to sanitize it, because I'm not helping these women. I'm not going to help them. I'm not going to help their cause. I'm going to expose the unfruitful works of darkness, and I'm not sanitizing it. So I'm going to play a short clip, and it's two women talking about abortion and abortion porn. And I just want to warn you, and please take me seriously on this. This is some of the most vile stuff you will hear in your entire human life. It is horrible. It is ugly. It is disgusting. And I'm not going to sanitize it. And so if you want to come back to this later or just turn it down, I'm not going to get to playing it yet, but when I get to playing it, make sure you don't have children around. You cannot listen to this in public. You cannot listen to this at work. It is not safe for work for sure. And so I'll give you a warning ahead of time when we're starting to play it. So right now you can hang on, just be ready to turn it down if you have little ears around you or if you're in a sensitive location. But I'm not going to sanitize it at all. I'm gonna help. And so I don't know what happened. Does this just pop up here? What happened here? Why is my face popping up? Hey, tech team, why all of a sudden is the ReformCon commercial coming up?
Did you accidentally start it over?
No, I don't think so. Is it just on mine? Is it showing me?
No, not
okay,
on mine.
I'm fine. Okay.
You
all
might
right.
have accidentally bumped it to the beginning.
I might have done that. Okay. So, sorry about that, guys. Something was going weird on my screen there. So, before we get into that, let's it's gonna be a rough show. So let's do something fun. Have you seen, Luke? Have you seen the videos where the guy takes internet drama and he turns it into music? This guy's a genius.
She's a Christian lady.
She a Christian lady. This is really fun. So we're gonna do something fun here to start.
Some of them do have some language. Just
we
ahead
want
of time,
to keep our sanity. I'm not gonna play anyone's with the language.
I'm just giving one a heads up so they don't.
When they go to it, yeah. There's a couple. There's probably like 6 or 8 of these out right now. But what this guy does is he's actually really, really good. He's
great.
He's very talented, great singer. He takes internet drama where people are like arguing with each other or arguing in the comment threads, or arguing in personal messages, and he turns it into songs.
Yeah.
And he does an amazing job with it. So this one is funny. It's I'll just play it for you. Here we go.
Good evening. No more contacting, please. Thanks. Appreciate you contacting me. I know I'm no longer interested. Please stop contacting me now. I will contact Attorney General if you do not stop. The sex.
He said the thanks. When he does the songs, he does it with all the misspellings intact. And so, have you seen the butter one?
Maybe.
Okay, this one's really good. This is I just need butter. Someone's asking for butter.
Oh, yeah, I saw this one. Yes, yeah.
Please help. I'm out of butter. Please drop a stick at the corner of Main and 5th between 2 and 4 a.m. today, Sunday. I don't wanna meet people. I don't want new friends, no. I just need butter. Yeah, I just need butter. Butter is important to me.
Oh man, is this the one? Hold on. Let me see if it's the one. Yes. Okay. So this is. I'll leave. He does so well. He even got this on a late night show.
Oh wow.
It's Fallon.
Okay.
And this is one of those things where they ask the question of it's the the poll, like what do you like?
Yeah, yeah.
What's your favorite salad dressing? Here we go.
Which salad dressing is your favorite? Can steakhouse blue cheese dressing?
Blue cheese has mold in it.
Blue cheese.
Blue cheese has mold in it.
Blue cheese.
Blue cheese has mold in it. Ranch is good.
Blue cheese.
There is mold and blue cheese grows.
Depends a lot on what kind of salad I put it on. I imagine raspberry tastes good with chicken and turkey. Nuts and seeds of fruit, while chunky blue cheese might be yummy with tuna perhaps. Personally, I like a honey mustard dressing.
Oh, so you like chunky mold dressing, huh? Oh, blue cheese has mold in it. Blue cheese has mold in it.
It's hilarious. I mean, people, they're just out of control on the internet.
That's great.
She can't keep her opinion to herself. It has mold. She just keeps texting on it.
Yeah.
Mold.
I don't think you understand what I'm saying. That's moldy. Chunky moldy.
There you go. So
That's great.
The guy's super talented. He takes some of the funniest interactions. Okay, so here we go. We're going to jump into it. So this, again, if you're just hopping on here, you've got to take me seriously on this. You have got to watch your surroundings. You got to listen. You got to watch the ears that are around you right now. I'm not going to sanitize this. I'm going to expose it for what it is, because I think it's the sanitizing of it that has gotten us to a place as a church where we've accepted the heresy of the pro-life establishment. The heresy of the pro-life establishment is their doctrine that the woman and the father who kills the child in the womb is not guilty. They are victims themselves. Because we've sanitized what takes place at the abortion facility and what takes place at the in front of the abortion mills, we've basically duped Christians into thinking that it actually is true that women who kill their children in the womb are victims. Now, not every woman who does this looks like these two women you're about to see. However, this is the heart behind it all. And so I'm not sanitizing it. And so I'm just going to give you a warning. What you're going to hear is probably one of the most disturbing things you're ever going to hear in your entire life. Please take it seriously. So here we go. I'm going to pull this up here. Where did I put that video? Here we go. Let me just get this nice and wide for everybody. And make sure that's all good to go. Okay, so let me. No, that doesn't work. Okay, hold on. There.
You know what?
How do you? Okay, there's. I think that's how we do
pretty
it.
big, girl.
Sorry, guys. I couldn't find the video on YouTube. I could only find it on Facebook. There we go. I got it working now. Okay. So, again, here we go. Please take what I say very seriously, everybody. Title of the video today is abortion porn, and you're probably wondering what in the world does that mean, and you're going to hear about it right now.
Find out.
Between the two, having experienced both, I'm very much like, you know what? The surgical one was pretty big, girl. I did it without the anesthesia. Well, the local anesthesia. I didn't go under. Like, I stayed awake. I wanted the whole experience of it. I'm like, I want to look into your face when you're sucking that out of my body.
That's fucking kind of hot.
Why
is
like
that
While
hot?
I'm like up in freaking stirrups, and I'm just like 21 and just like,
But your pussy looked really good where they pulled that dead baby out of it.
Yeah, you know, they just
This could be a fetish. Wait a minute.
vacuum the whole thing out.
Wait a minute.
Does Abortion Spa also have an OnlyFans?
OnlyFans abortions to help women pay for their fucking abortions. If people are into that, there's a fetish for that, to watch bloody fucking guts come out of a pussy. Somebody is into that.
Is this how we make abortions okay in capitalism?
Is it
Is
because
like we've got to find a way to not only, you know, the doctors are getting paid and it's safe and that, yes, but also let's feed it back into the machine
the
and like get
insurance
the OnlyFans going.
OnlyFans paying the insurance companies. You know that there's somebody that would fucking come to watching a fucking dead baby come out of a
The
pussy.
more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm really looking forward to Porn 30 today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't have any abortions. I'm so sorry. We need to create an animated like fetish subgenre of like abortion porn.
If you're thinking of it, there's got to already be a porn.
Well, it's probably on like the deep web. I have to go like looking on Tor for it.
Victims.
There you are. There's the victims of the That's what Scripture says. Those who hate me love death. And there it is. And you might be saying, like, why? Show it. And the answer is because abortion is not criminal anywhere in this nation. It's not criminalized anywhere in this nation. Yeah, Roe v. Wade is overturned. Needed to be overturned. Praise God for that. But they threw it back to the states and they said, you deal with it. And so some states, yeah, they have trigger laws and they're making it difficult for some abortion facilities to stay open. But it's still completely legal in those states. And as a matter of fact, it is, we have the full approval of the establishment, the pro-life establishment, to go ahead and kill your baby with a DIY abortion, because the establishment has taught people the heresy, the false doctrine that the woman who kills her child in the womb is herself a victim. She's not guilty. She doesn't need Christ for forgiveness for her abortion. And yeah, that's the truth, because she's a victim.
Right.
So she doesn't need the gospel for her abortion. She doesn't need the cleansing of Christ for her abortion. She is not guilty for her abortion. She is never to be seen as criminal for abortion. And if you do not believe me, then let me show you one of the leaders in the establishment. This is Brent Leatherwood at the most recent SBC meeting, members meeting in Anaheim. This is where he was challenged by Pastor Brian Gunter. Pastor Brian Gunter was who we worked together with in Louisiana to get our bill in that would have brought equal protection for all humans in the state of Louisiana, would have criminalized and abolished it. But the ERLC, specifically Brent Leatherwood, signed onto a document that was shipped off to every state legislature in the country and for them. And it specifically went to our legislators on the day of the vote on the floor to talk them out of passing our bill.
Right.
Brent Leatherwood is behind that. So when we say to you, this needs to be exposed, we need to stop sanitizing this, here's one of the proponents of the heresy of the establishment that says that she herself is a victim and she should never be criminalized for killing her own child in the womb. This is him in his own words.
The reality. You're not going to get me to say that I want to throw mothers behind bars. That's not the view of this entity. That is not the view of this convention. It is not the view of the pro-life movement. That was proven yet again today.
So, first of all, he's wrong, and he's either lying or he's ignorant. Both are a problem, being the head of the ERLC, part of the SBC, Southern Baptist Convention. Brent Leatherwood's either ignorant or he's lying. And what do I mean by that? Well, first of all, it's manipulation to say, you're not going to get me to say that I want to throw women in jail. Mr. Leatherwood, finish the sentence. Finish the sentence. You should have said, because this is actually what we're talking about, you're not going to get me to say that I want to throw women who kill their children in the wombs in jail. That would be finishing the sentence. That would be actually contextualizing it.
Right.
That would be being honest about it. But rather than being honest about it, you're using emotional manipulation to get applause from people by saying, we don't want to throw mothers in jail. We don't want to throw women in jail. I mean, who wants to throw mama in jail? Who wants to throw the sister in jail? And, when you hear that kind of, it's like the left constantly does with everything, right? Like the Inflation Recovery Act. Does it recover anything in inflation? No. Like, what's it paying for? Well, all these other things that really have nothing to do with inflation. But they know how to manipulate the populace. They know how to. People are hurting because of inflation. Let's call this bill an Inflation Recovery Act. And they'll be behind it. They'll appreciate that you're trying to help them. And you look inside of you like, it's got nothing to do with inflation. It's not going to help with anything. It's like, well, pass the bill because we got what we wanted by using emotional manipulation. And that's all this was emotional manipulation. As I've said before, quickly, and then Luke, I want to hear what you have to say here. Yeah. Try it with something else. Try it with something else. Imagine for a second, the SBC was just entrenched with this awful situation of not handling sex abuse cases correctly. And imagine in this context, having to ask the question about, well, we believe in the gospel for sinners, but don't we also want those sinners to be like handled by the state when they commit crimes? Now, imagine in the context of the SBC dealing with inappropriately handling sex abuse cases, somebody said, well, I want the gospel for those guys that do that, but I also believe they should be punished by the state. And someone comes up to like, well, don't we believe in the gospel for these men? And then Brett Leatherwood comes up in that context and goes, look, you're not going to get me to say that I want to throw fathers and husbands in jail. We'll finish the sentence. Everyone knows, wait a second, you should have finished the sentence. We're talking about fathers and husbands that molested children. Why'd you do that? Why'd you leave that part out of it? Well, you would only leave that part out of it because you're trying to emotionally carry this. You're trying to emotionally manipulate people, which is all Brent Leatherwood was doing there. And when I say ignorant or lying, Brent Leatherwood was ignorant or lying, I'm not just trying to be abusive to the man. This is a serious situation. This is in the public square. This man helped to kill a bill that would have provided equal protection for all humans in the womb in Louisiana. Brent Leatherwood is responsible for dead babies in Louisiana today. Today. He's responsible. Okay? So this isn't a personal beef that I have with Brent Leatherwood, right? This is an internet gossip. He has his signature, ERLC, on that document that was passed out to our legislators the day of the vote to encourage them not to pass it. He's responsible. He has blood on his hands. So when I say he's ignorant or he's lying, when he says it's not the position at this convention, I'm sorry. See, I actually was in Nashville the year prior to this for the members meeting where the Southern Baptist Convention members voted for abolition and equal protection. I was there for that. That vote happened, and it passed. So actually, the position voted on by the members was the position you are opposing. So you're ignorant, because maybe you just didn't know, or you're lying, because it actually was the position of the Southern Baptist Convention. So you're ignorant, or you're lying. Both are bad. So which is it? So there you go. So if someone says, why would you play such a horrible video about abortion porn? Because of him. Because of people like him. Because the establishment is actually working against the gospel proclamation in the area of abortion, and they're literally fighting against bills that would establish justice for the preborn by lying to the Christian church about women who kill their babies. They're lying. We've played videos for you all the time. We have whole videos where we have just like 2 minutes of women outside of abortion mills bragging about murdering their children, delighting in what they're going to do, happy about it, happy about the option to murder their child in the womb, calling it murder and reveling in the fact that it's murder. And so we have to overcome it by not sanitizing it. Tell the truth. Start exposing it. Expose those unfruitful deeds of darkness. Show it to the world. I know it's hard to hear. I hate to play it. I hate to take time on the show to play it, but it came across, and we needed to make sure the church saw it.
I'd want to ask Leatherwood, mother of what? Right? He said, I don't want to throw the mothers in jail. Mother of what?
Yeah.
A murdered baby? You know? And so obviously we know the pro-life industry's whole thing is that mothers don't know. They've been tricked. They don't know that it's an actual baby, and that's why we played that clip, because those awful ladies know exactly what it is. They said dead baby. They know what it is. They know what they're doing.
Guts.
Yeah, it's not a matter of them not knowing. It's a matter of them reveling in what it is, and it's disgusting.
Yeah.
So,
Those who hate me love death.
Yep.
And there it is. Those who hate God love death, and that was a love of death, of rejoicing over death. Read the Proverbs, Book of Proverbs. Right now, we're doing our study through the Book of Proverbs at Apologia Church, verse by verse. It's funny. I was going to mention this, how important it is for us to understand the wisdom, godly wisdom. I'm grateful to God that we get used in any way to serve Christ and to glorify Him and teach. And we need to be faithful always, regardless of who's watching.
Yeah.
You need to be faithful regardless of the size of the crowd. Jesus would whittle his disciples back down to 12 again after thousands, because it wasn't important to Jesus to have a huge mass of people who were false believers, false brethren.
Yeah.
He wanted to make sure that his followers were identified as those who understood the message of the gospel. Like, where are we going to go? You have the words of eternal life. They understood, so they stick around, but the crowd leaves. So it doesn't matter how many people are standing there in terms of the truthfulness of it or the effectiveness of it. God grows his kingdom from a mustard seed to a large tree. And so it looks very small in the hand, but it becomes devastating and fills the earth. But it's interesting, our series on the Book of Proverbs has had the least amount of views of all the series and all the teaching that we've done, whether on Reformed theology or the Gospel according to Matthew.
People don't want that wisdom, though.
I'm saying, it's the least popular sermon series that we have, because I think
it hurts.
Yeah, because I think we are so, unfortunately, all of us are so much not focused upon the application, the real outworking of God's knowledge and God's truth in our lives that actually gets legs on it. We're so not concerned with being able to actually accomplish this and live it out. We're very happy. I think if we confess to this, and I've had to repent of this in my past, we are very happy to have a head full of deep theological knowledge. We like to wax long about theological truths, and we even like to, as young men who are very zealous, impress people with all our theological knowledge and our abilities and our apologetics abilities and all the rest. And we don't really consider that God has a lot to say in His Word about wisdom and how important that is. And I think we're going to talk about that today, hopefully on the show. That playing out on the internet, in the age of the internet, this is all new to all of us. Admitted, it's new to all of us. We're quite comfortable with abandoning wisdom and throwing off God's standards when it comes to internet gossip or internet slander, or engaging ourselves in behavior online that we would know instinctively isn't appropriate in the context of it's not appropriate in the context of personal relationships or the local church. We'd never do it there, but we're totally happy spreading stories online, not hearing both sides, not knowing all the facts, and just talking about it freely and spreading the stories online with just such a lack of wisdom. And I think it's key for us as Christians to get to know the Book of Proverbs. It's just it'll change your life. I mean, if you invest yourself in the Book of Proverbs to say, Lord, I want to be wise. I want to glorify you. I want to walk with you and trust in you, and I want this to actually look like you want it in my life.
Yeah.
If we invest ourselves in that, it'll change you. It'll change you dramatically. It really will.
Just one a day.
Just one a day. One. Those
ladies could use a little Proverbs 31, if you know what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm going to play this. Yeah, we'll hop into this. Yeah. So I'm going to play this real fast, and while it's playing, I'm going to actually take a bathroom break. So I'm going to try to run because I want everyone to see this. You'll see why in a moment why we're playing this. This is a news report about a transgender activist who was complaining about these waxing studios and waxing businesses because they wouldn't wax him. And so you guys might have remembered this in the news. It was all over the news for a good period of time. And here is one of the news reports.
This is the latest salon that's facing a complaint from Jessica Yaniv, the transgender woman who's already complained to BC's Human Rights Tribunal about 15 other salons, complaints that were dismissed. And in 3 of those, she was fined, fines she has yet to pay. In this latest case, Yaniv sent the salon these Facebook messages in August asking about waxing services. First a Brazilian, then just a leg wax, adding she's transgender. The salon's owner, a practicing Sikh, told her they only waxed women.
You're asking for an East Indian woman who is an adherent to the Sikh religion to take somebody who has a biological male body into the back of the salon and have that person disrobe from the waist down, and then have this individual, the service provider, provide this very personal service.
Yaniv filed a complaint 2 months later claiming discrimination. She wants $25,000 for the injury to her dignity and self-respect. It's a similar pattern to some of her previous 15 complaints, behavior that the Human Rights Tribunal found to be in bad faith, motivated by a desire to target small businesses for personal financial gain, and to punish racialized women based on the perception that South Asian and Asian communities are taking over.
She was found to have acted like a predator.
Trans rights advocate Morgan Auger is critical of Yaniv's behavior.
Whereas everybody has every right to live free of discrimination, no one has the right to trap others into bad situations. We are expected not to go hunting for badness.
And she believes Yaniv's actions have instead raised fears about the transgender community, calling it detrimental.
We've seen the amount of hatred against trans people significantly increase. Jessica's conduct online has been conflated with transphobia.
Auger thinks that the issue is a legitimate one, but that Yaniv shouldn't be the one to bring the case forward, adding that workers have a right as well to turn down work that can cause undue hardship. A hearing date has yet to be set. Leanne Young, CBC News, Vancouver.
So there you go. So that was a while back. I mean, goodness, that was 2020, January 8th, 2020. That news report was January.
Man, it feels like it was even longer than that.
I know. It feels like it was a long time ago. So, yeah, it was years ago, and all over the news, and much more happened after this all took place. You can look up Jessica Yaniv, Yaniv on YouTube or whatever, and you'll just see there's just a slew of stuff like violent reactions and all kinds of stuff. Interesting to watch. I think she was actually once she talked to Alex Jones. The dude in the dress. The name Jessica threw me there. Sorry, he talked to Alex Jones.
I did find it ironic that the other dude in the dress, his last name was Ogre.
Really?
But they were pronouncing it Auger, but it was like Oger.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For what it's worth.
For what it's worth. So the reason we're doing this is we're thinking as pastors, like how do we start like adding wisdom into a discussion about wisdom? And I think it's so important because, and I'm not going to mention names, anything like that at all. But fairly recently. Very recently, there was a situation of a well-known pastor, a teacher online, required to step down from his church. And articles were shared, and everyone just starts to speculate. And here's the thing. I'm not going to talk about it. Add my 2 cents. Here's why. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. And neither do you.
It's pure speculation.
It would just be speculation. And if we start sharing stories online and trying to throw our hat in there and say, well, I think it's this or I think it's that, what are we doing? Like, well, why are we so comfortable as Christians in the 21st century? Why are we so comfortable with gossip online? Like, we don't think that's sinful. You know what I mean? Like, we have, certain sins where these are big no-nos. But for some reason, we think that, like, online, getting away with gossip and slander is... these are the acceptable sins.
Yeah.
These are the respectable sins online. Christians, we can do that. We can talk trash about somebody. We could not know the whole story. We could just, speculate and make assumptions. And here's the truth. These situations like this, you're not in that church, probably. You're not privy to what the elders are privy to. You don't know, and you don't know all the details. All you know is like maybe a piece of a detail that was shared that gets blown out of proportion. And here's the point: sometimes it's best just to say this: I don't know, and I'm not gonna add my thoughts on it because I do not know. And there's wisdom in that. Wisdom is this. I read it at the beginning for a reason. Proverbs 18. I love how this is put too. Did you hear? I started a little higher because a fool's mouth, verse 7, is his ruin, and his lips are a snare to his soul. The words of a whisperer are like delicious morsels. They go down into the inner parts of the body. If one gives an answer before he hears, it is his folly and shame. In other words, if you give your answer before you've heard and you know all the details, what's it saying? You should be ashamed of yourself and you are foolish. You don't know both sides, and you're giving an answer, you're giving a response. Why? Because you want to look like you know a bunch of stuff? Why? It's all pride. When we try to throw ourselves into something not knowing all the details, not knowing both sides, not knowing all the facts in a personal situation that like we're talking about, it's shameful. You should be ashamed of yourself, and you should recognize the foolishness of it. You don't know both sides. And this text keeps going because this is where the famous one is. And this is key. Verse 17 of Proverbs 18 says this: the one who states his case first seems right. And that we all recognize that. You hear someone's story and you're like, man, that's terrible. Like what happened to you is awful. Pastors deal with this all the time. You have someone come in, like a husband comes in and shares like, oh, this is going on in my marriage, and he's so passionate about it. He's got all these different facts and evidences, and you're like, dang, is that really happening in the home? Oh, that's terrible. That's a terrible situation. And then the wife comes in, and then you hear her side.
Yeah.
And you're like,
very different.
Oh, there's a lot of details here that just were not shared by the husband there. And so, and that happens in court too. That's why in court you have the Christian standard of cross-examination in our courts. That comes from Moses, by the way. So thank God for the law of God in culture and society. Apparently we want that sort of a thing, cross-examination, a demand for cross-examination of the accusers and witnesses. You have to cross-examine them because, well, lo and behold, we live in a fallen world and people lie, right? Or sometimes people are just mistaken. And so you have to have cross-examination. And so godly wisdom says, the one who states his case first seems right until the other comes and examines him, right? So like what do you have as a principle here of godly wisdom? It's that don't give an answer before you've heard. Don't give an answer before you really understand and know. Otherwise, you should be ashamed, and it's foolishness. And sometimes one person's side sounds totally right until you actually hear the other side, and you're like, oh, wait a second, this changes the entire situation. And so godly wisdom, most of the time, I think in situations like this, it's basically be quiet. Shut up.
Yeah.
Don't say anything. You don't need to. Don't whisper. Don't gossip. Don't slander. And, you also have godly wisdom in the Proverbs. It talks about the person who gets involved in a quarrel that is not his own is also a fool. So I think on the internet, we have to be super aware of the fact that, while this is on a screen and we're using our fingers and not our lips and tongues, it's still...
Yeah.
Well, I've put it this way. Jesus says on the last day, people are going to be held accountable for every idle word. And I would say, well, in the modern, you could say on the last day, people will be held accountable for every click, right? Every tap of the finger, every keystroke. It all counts too. And there's a day of judgment, and we have to make sure that we're living in such a way that we're glorifying God and using wisdom. So all that to say, that's a lead-in. We wouldn't usually respond to things like this. We would just ignore it, and we know there's a God who judges justly, and we entrust ourselves to one who judges righteously. But we thought actually it'd be a good thing to talk about in terms of like providing something valuable in terms of godly wisdom. So when all this stuff was happening with the dude that wanted women to wax his testicles, his genitals, that's what we're talking about, it's all over the news. When that was going on, I was up north and I had a conversation to sit down with two other pastors, Pastor Douglas Wilson and Pastor Toby Sumter. And I was like, well, we're here. Let's talk about, let's try to provide some pastoral input here. And so we brought up the disturbing and crazy and just wonky situation of a man demanding that a stranger wax his testicles. We brought it up because it's all over the news. It's what everybody was talking about. It's the front page of everything. And so I come across this video. And the title of the video is Jeff Durbin and Doug Wilson Have a Beer. First, I saw it and I go, huh? Wait, what? And so I played through a little bit of the beginning, and I remember the scene, and it was where I was up north, and I sat with the two guys, and we were in Tapt, downtown Moscow. Now, Tapt in downtown Moscow, great food, and one of my very favorite things about that place is their root beer on tap. Now, I'm a huge root beer fan. I love root beer, but I only want to go for like the high-end root beer, so I don't drink like A&W with high fructose corn syrup and all the bad ones. Like, I want the guys who are like craft root beer, and like on tap is like my jam. And so Tapt has some of the best on tap root beer I've ever had anywhere. So I was super excited to sit down with the guys and to have a root beer, and I think I actually drank like 3 or 4 of them in this one thing we filmed. So
in excess,
very much excessive, but I'm not there often enough. So I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and gorge myself.
If anything, it was gluttony, not drunkenness. Let's just be clear.
Okay,
let's just be honest.
Let's have integrity and just say what it is. What it is. Okay, I might have been a little bit of a glutton. I don't know. So Jeff Durbin and Doug Wilson have a beer, and I thought to myself, man, the lack of wisdom. To not have all the information, to give an answer before you've heard. The principle there is you don't know, and you're making assumptions, and you're putting input and making accusations before you even have all the facts. So actually, in this scene, you're going to see it in a moment here. Jeff Durbin and Douglas Wilson did not sit down together to have a beer together. Doug and Toby had a beer, and they didn't even have a lot of beer. As a matter of fact, when this conversation kicked off, I think they had just put the beers down. So nobody was inebriated. Nobody drank too much. And we had really just sat down. And I was drinking root beer the whole time, too much root beer. I wasn't drinking a beer with Doug. Not that there's a problem with enjoying the blessing of like wine and beer in a way that's pleasing to God and glorifying to God. Not that there's a problem with doing those things. Like we've talked before, I'm not going to make this whole show about this, but, you know, Jesus puts wine on the table. Jesus was accused of being a drunkard, not because he was drinking grape juice publicly, but because clearly he was drinking wine. They're lying about Jesus. They were slandering him, saying, well, he's a drunk. He's a drunk. Yeah, why? How can you make that accusation if Jesus wasn't actually drinking wine? Of course he was. But also the law.
They are calling you a drunk when you had root beer. So.
Yeah, they are. It happens. People slander. People slander. So also the law of God, and we've done shows on this. I'm not going to belabor it today, except to say God says in his word, in his law, when he's talking about his people coming to do this big worship festival and feast, he actually tells his people, like, as you're carrying stuff, like if it's too heavy to carry to this place that I tell you to go, you know, sell your wine, turn it into money. And when you get to the place of this worship and this festival and this feasting, then you can buy anything you want, wine or even strong drink. That's coming from God, telling people, come and celebrate and feast. And and then when you get there, buy anything your heart desires, wine or strong drink. This is from God. So if our standard around alcohol makes God look like he's sinning, our standard is wrong, not God. Okay, so I'm not here doing the, can Christians drink thing. I'm talking about godly wisdom on the internet. The accusation was Jeff Durbin and Doug Wilson have a beer. Well, I had a root beer. Multiple root beers. A lot of root beer. Delicious. If you ever get to Moscow, downtown, go to Tapt, get some root beer. You'll see exactly why I was drinking it. So I wanted to play this. Here we go.
So one of my subscribers reached out to me and sent me this clip, and they wanted me to give my own personal take on it. And that's what I plan to do with this video. Now, before I begin, I want to make it clear that I have no issue with Jeff Durbin. I do believe him to be a solid brother in the faith, who I do regard as a biblical teacher. Now, regarding Doug Wilson.
Just pause there for a second. I appreciate that, brother. I do. And I don't want you to, if you see this, I don't want you to see it as anything other than a brother trying to speak to a brother, say, hey, you got it wrong. Yep. It wasn't wise. It wasn't wise. So, correct it, take it down. And hopefully in the future, this changes the way, because this is how we're sharpened as a church, right? Like we all fail. We fail. God challenges us with his word and we grow out of it. And that's how God sanctifies us. And the hope here, and even showing this, because I'm invested in Proverbs right now, pastorally, is to say, like, how would you apply godly wisdom to the internet? And here's an example of somebody making accusations or having assumptions and being wrong. I mean, from the bottom up, wrong. And how do we glorify God and be wise servants in the midst of it? So I appreciate the encouragement. I appreciate the blessing. But let's continue.
Hey, you should all know at this point where I stand with him. I think I made that quite clear. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to review parts of the full segment that stand out to me. The whole clip is about an hour long, so I'm going to do my best to compress it and shorten it to the most important parts that stand out to me.
All right. Ready to fight? No. Okay.
We are wrestling.
All right. So let's talk. So should we force women to wax men's testicles?
Well, the first question someone might ask is this: is drinking alcohol biblical, or can a true Christian drink beer? And those are great questions. And the answer is, you can't draw a straight line from drinking alcohol to not being a Christian, because we are not saved by not drinking alcohol. We are saved by believing and trusting in Jesus Christ. So yeah, a true Christian can drink alcohol. Our Lord drank wine on various occasions. But it's not that simple. The real question is this: should a Christian drink alcohol? Let me repeat that. Should a Christian drink alcohol? I think that's a better question. We are warned in Scripture not to get drunk, not to be drunk, Ephesians 5:18. And what Jeff Durbin just did in this clip is exactly why. Because it causes you to say and do stupid things that are not God-honoring. Let me repeat what Jeff just said. He said, should we force women to wax men's testicles? Now, the fact that he could say that with a straight face is most likely due to the fact that he had probably been drinking more beer than he should have before the airing of this segment.
I say one thing: if you're not drinking root beer in there, then it's like a Velvet Merlin, because that is some dark beer.
It's a very dark beer.
It's like tar. I mean, there's so much wrong there.
Again, it's not to berate this brother. It's just to say, like, well, here's an example. How do you apply godly wisdom in the internet age? He saw a video. He saw something in my hand. His assumption was that's beer, and then he went further with the assumption and said he probably drank too much, and that's why he talked in this way. The truth is, the reason why I was talking about that is because it was all over the news. All over the news. And what did I use, even in terms of the terminology I used? The technical terminology. And of course, it's such a weird thing to talk about, and we laugh about it at the end, because what a crazy world that we're living in, that we're living in an age where we're actually talking about forcing women to do this to men, strangers. And so the awkwardness of the moment wasn't because anybody had drank too much at all. It's because how crazy is this that we're actually having this discussion? We are, as pastors, sitting down in the 21st century asking this crazy question. How do you deal with this? There's a man that's demanding that strangers in these salons actually wax his testicles, his genitals. We got to deal with it. You can hide under a rock if you want. I'm not playing that game. I'm not going to do that. I'm not running from this stuff. I'll talk about it. You can hide in your little pietistic circles if you want as a Christian. Mostly false piety.
Yeah.
And you could try to pretend like this stuff isn't happening. And I think that's probably one of the main reasons we're facing it down today, is because Christians have gotten to these little enclaves, these little, we've sort of, gotten ourselves onto a reservation, and the world's out there, and we won't engage with the stuff. We won't. Why? Because we're too holy to engage with that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, no, you should engage it. You should call it what it is. You should call it down. Take down every argument that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and you should dissect it. You should refute it. All that stuff. You should talk about it. So the reason why that question came up is because it was literally all over the news. And if you doubt me at all, it's fine if you do. Go look it up. Go look it up. See how many news articles there are. See how many videos there are. See how many news reports there are. It was all over the news. And so I'm a pastor. I sat down with 2 pastors, and I had a root beer. Wasn't inebriated. Wasn't under the influence at all. As a matter of fact, when that video went up, I'm pretty sure it had been at least 2 or 3 years since I had had a drop of any alcohol, except for the little thimble of communion wine that we have every Lord's Day. It was just root beer. I just had a stage where I was just like, I don't know, just don't want to have a beer. That's just how it was. Literally, I was just like, I just don't want to have a beer for a long time. And so I sat down completely sober, and they were sober, and I had root beer. But all the assumptions, what happened here is he probably had too much. And that's why he brought up a conversation like that. Not assuming my innocence, not assuming the best of me, not assuming all the things that you ought to assume according to God's law, but assuming the worst, and not having full context. And so, if one gives an answer before he hears, it is his folly and shame. The principle there is you don't really know what you're talking about. But you're gonna throw out accusations and you're gonna vilify somebody and actually engage in what is essentially slander. Because what does someone take away from this video when they watch it? What do they take away? And by the way, listen, I'm okay. There's a just judge, and there's a final day of judgment. All this gets revealed. But when someone walks away from this, they walk away with, man, that Jeff has got a potty mouth. He makes these bad jokes, and it's because he drinks too much.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I took away from it. But if you were there and you know the facts, and if you know what God knows and I know, you'll know that Jeff was talking about the news, and Jeff didn't have a single drop of alcohol.
And you didn't say anything stupid either.
Yeah.
Just for the record.
So hopefully, I don't know, I just wanted to talk about that. And normally we don't engage with this stuff. Like, there's when you're in ministry, maybe this would be a good thing for us to talk about, Luke. Maybe we'll take Stacey Abrams out of this episode. We'll just clear it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do it next week.
Next week we will be in Ireland, probably having a Guinness. Just for the record. We will be in Ireland.
Yeah, pray for the church in Ireland. God's doing amazing things there for them. We've, through your help with us, by the way, End Abortion Now has raised up churches in Ireland that are now fighting against the issue of abortion with the gospel consistently, working to criminalize it once again. And that group of churches is raised up through the work of Apologia Church. So if you gave to End Abortion Now or Apologia Studios, you made all that possible. So That's happening right now. So thank you for that. But I think, Luke, let's talk about this. I think this would be a good ending to the show because we're all about wisdom, talking about wisdom right now and ministry. We've been doing this for a long time.
Going on 13 years.
Just with Apologia.
Yeah, just Apologia.
You and I have been involved in ministry for much longer than that.
Yeah.
And but we planted the church almost 13 years ago. And one of the things I want to say to my brothers and sisters, especially those who are pastors, who are those involved in vocational ministry or, you're invested. Faithful ministry hurts.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts a lot. I've often said from a human perspective, the reason why I try to talk everybody out of doing vocational ministry, like pastoral work or whatever, is because I want to get the ones that are truly called and not the ones that are just really excited about God's word and love Jesus and want to evangelize. Just because you're all those things doesn't mean you have to be a pastor. It's not like this is the elite status. We're just one part of this whole thing, right? Like you can do so many other things and glorify God and do just as much important work for the kingdom by not being a pastor, right? But I always try to talk people out.
Yes,
and Luke knows
we
this.
do.
Like we're brutal about it. Try to talk people out of this because we want the ones who are truly called and truly gifted and just can't do anything else. You can't do anything else. From a human perspective, this is like a nightmarish experience in many respects. Imagine always being on call, always having to be available, and it's 24 hours a day, spiritual attacks, trauma, death, disease, pain. I mean, your days will be filled as a pastor from like 9 a.m., this huge moment of victory and like sanctification and amazing stuff happening in someone's lives. Someone comes to Jesus, a marriage is healed or what have you. And then 10, comes along, and 10 a.m. it's this tragedy, right? And then 11, it's this other victory, and then 12, it's an even worse tragedy. It's from a human perspective, it's nightmarish. Like, why would you choose this? Only because you're called, and only because you're gifted, and you can't do anything else because you're doing it for the glory of God anyways. All that to say, if you're going to do faithful ministry, you have to prepare yourself for the slander. You have to prepare yourself for the gossip. You have to prepare yourself because it's going to happen. If the enemy uses this tool of accusation, lies, slander, gossip against the ministry of Jesus, against the ministry of Paul, you better be darn sure he's going to use it against you as well. Be ready for it. Be so ready for it. And I think for us, for Pastor Luke and myself, and Pastor Zach and Pastor James, most of the time we don't even respond to things like this, because what have I said? The judge of all the earth will always do right. We entrust ourselves to the one who judges righteously. We know there's a day of judgment where all is going to be revealed. But it's important to consider as a believer the fact that if you do faithful ministry, people are going to say awful things about you, not having all the facts, people lying. Like, I saw an article someone shared with me the other day. Someone had done an article that said that I regularly preach in skinny jeans and beer T-shirts. I despise skinny jeans. I've never worn
There's
a
a
pair.
record of that, by the way, on this show.
Yeah, there is.
How much we loathe skinny
Yeah,
jeans.
I despise skinny jeans, always have, would never own a pair, encourage every man on the planet never to go near such a thing. And I don't even remember, do I even own a shirt, the beer shirt? I might have bought a Guinness shirt in Ireland, but I preach regularly in beer T-shirts. Here's my challenge. Find that.
Yeah.
Find it. But people get away with it because, well, it's a respectable sin in our culture. Because of the age of the internet, you can say what you want when you want. And we just don't think that gossip and slander on the internet translates to real sin. But it is. It is. Luke?
Yeah. I mean, there's just so much. Sorry, I was just reading the comments, and the comments are a dumpster fire. I mean, if you're listening, sorry, the whole argument on the comments right now is that there's no verse explicitly saying that Jesus drank alcohol, which that's silly. But I encourage you to just search for the word alcohol or strong drink or wine in your concordance on your Bible app. Just search for it and see all the glowing things that God has to say about wine and alcohol. Okay, so for those...
And the condemnation of drunkenness.
Yeah, for all the ultra...
There's balance.
Pietists in the chat feed here. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to add to that.
Well, I mean, just the I guess in preparing maybe men who are being raised up right now for ministry to... how do you deal with it? Like, when as a ministry, when you see some crazy article with these accusations or something like that, you're like, how are you dealing with that spiritually?
Well, they're usually of you, but
yeah, that's right.
For this guy that doesn't like Doug Wilson, one thing we learned from him is when that happens, they party, right? And that's great advice because, it's even like reading the YouTube comments. We try not to. Every once in a while, I'm like, I wonder what they said here, and then I immediately regret looking at the YouTube comments.
Yeah, keep your sanity. Don't read the comments. Keep your
so
sanity.
A lot of it, we know the truth. God knows the truth. Those we love know the truth, and it's just not worth your time and effort and being stressed out over just unfounded slander and comments. It's just whatever. Have a nice day. I got we have real problem with or real people with real problems to deal with on a daily basis,
right?
So this video we just played, it's this isn't even a real thing. It's make believe. This has been a year. This has been a year. 22 has been a year. In some ways, I would say 22 for us as pastors has been harder than 2020. because we've had so much tragedy and conflict and stuff like that. And it's like
death. We had someone we loved. We had someone we loved.
Yeah, exactly.
Very,
and
very
it's
dearly
like,
die.
You know, it's like when we get done with this show here, you know, you have
counseling.
You have appointments waiting for you.
The rest of the day is counseling.
Yeah. I have another, let's see, what time is it for? I have another 5 hours of appointments here yet. So like, I have real issues to deal with, people that are really struggling, and I don't really even have time.
We're pastoring.
To like even care what the other people think.
Right. So just being faithful, serve God, be faithful.
Yeah.
You do what you do to the glory of God, worship Christ. And you got to know that if you do faithful ministry, you're going to get attacked, you're going to get accused falsely, all that stuff. And you just got to be okay with it, and you got to rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. You're rejoicing in God and His faithfulness. He's unchanging. And I think, for me, the anchor is there's a day of judgment where all of it's going to be revealed.
Yep.
That's your hope. Here's the thing. Nobody will get away with the lies and slander that they make against you.
Right.
No one will get away with it. And in terms of like the Christian worldview, all sins of gossip and slander, whether it is with your mouth or with your fingers, all sins of gossip and slander are going to be dealt with or have been dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
No sin of gossip, slander, false accusation will be missed. There's going to be a day of judgment where it's going to be judged before the watching world, or it was actually dealt with in Jesus Christ. But God is not going to allow any sin of slander and gossip to go unpunished. It either was received by Christ and fully atoned for and answered by God, or it will come upon the head of every person who doesn't know Jesus and does it, because there's a day of judgment. And so we should take these sorts of things really seriously. And I think it's important in the age of the internet, we are so confident and willing to engage in the sins of gossip and slander, and to engage in the lack of wisdom, like not knowing both sides before we actually make a judgment, or not hearing something fully before we give an answer. And Scripture says, if you do that, it's to your folly and to your shame. And so I think that as believers, we should read the book of Proverbs a lot more than we do.
Amen to that.
And I do hope that our study series through the book of Proverbs will be a blessing to the church for generations to come.
Hopefully people listen to it.
That's why we're engaged. That's why we're doing it. We hope that it changes us, changes me, and changes the world. That's why we do the teaching we do. It's not just to get through a Sunday. It's because we hope that it changes us. It makes us like Jesus. And so there you go. So as we mentioned, we are headed to Ireland to minister to the churches that we've raised up there in Ireland, who are now fighting against the issue of abortion in Ireland, both in the Republic and in the North.
Yes.
With the gospel. And so pray for those churches, and thank you again to everybody who has given to End Abortion Now. You have been a part of this with us, raising up churches internationally to save lives.
Truly.
You really have. It's an international movement now of the gospel with local churches, and so thank you for all your giving. If you haven't gone to endabortionnow.com to sign up with your church to get free resources and training to save lives together with about 900 churches, then go do it. Sign up with your church, with your pastors, and we'll give you everything you need. We want nothing from you. And I want to encourage you all to, if you can, give at endabortionnow.com. We need you to be a part of this work with us financially. It takes a lot to do what we do and to go into all the states we're going into. We've got states coming up now. We're planning on Georgia. We're planning on Alabama, Pennsylvania, Idaho. We've got a number of states. And so pray for those.
It's hard to keep track of all.
It's hard to keep track of them. So be in prayer for those, because we have bills of equal protection going in. Louisiana, we're working on that coming around again. And so it's going to be a big next 12 months for sure. So be in prayer for that, but also join with us, partner with us, and get your tickets for ReformCon, reformcon.org, live performances, great talks, after party, awesome stuff. Reformation Day weekend here in the Phoenix Valley, reformcon.org. You got to get your tickets, and you got to get them soon, guys. Limited seating, so we got to fill them up, and you need your spot. So reformcon.org, David Bahnsen, James White, Joe Boot, Andrew Sandlin, myself, Luke will be there. The whole team's going to be there. So don't miss it. reformcon.org. We will catch you next week right here on Apologia Radio. That is Luke the Bear.
Real quick, because I forgot to mention it, speaking of Idaho, and across the street from where you were in that video with Doug Wilson is New St. Andrews College, we are now partnering with, and we're very excited about. So check out nsa.edu, not .gov.
Not .gov. Totally different thing. One is righteous, one is unrighteous. So, Luke the Bear.
Peace out.
I'm Jeff the Coleman and Ninja. We'll catch you next week right here on Apologia Radio.